Birds are a group of endothermic vertebrates, characterized by feathers, a beak with no teeth, the laying of hard-shelled eggs, a high metabolic rate, a four-chambered heart, and a lightweight but strong skeleton. Birds live worldwide and range in size from the 5 cm hummingbird to the 2.75 meters ostrich. They rank as the class of tetrapods with the most living species, at approximately 10,000, with more than half of these being passerines, sometimes known as perching birds or, less accurately, as songbirds. The fossil record indicates that birds are the last surviving dinosaurs, having evolved from feathered ancestors within the theropod group of Saurischian dinosaurs. True birds first appeared during the Cretaceous period, around 100 million years ago, and the last common ancestor is estimated to have lived about 95 million years ago. DNA-based evidence finds that birds radiated extensively around the time of the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event that killed off the non-avian dinosaurs. Birds in South America survived this event and then migrated to other parts of the world via multiple land bridges while diversifying during periods of global cooling. Primitive bird-like, stem birds, that lie outside class Aves proper, in the group Aviale, have been found dating back to the mid-Jurassic period. Many of these early stem birds, such as Archaeopteryx, were not yet capable of fully powered flight, and many retained primitive characteristics like toothy jaws in place of beaks and long bony tails. Birds have wings which are more or less developed depending on the species. The only known groups without wings are the extinct moas and elephant birds. Wings, which evolved from forelimbs, give most birds the ability to fly, although further speciation has led to some flightless birds, including ratites, penguins, and diverse endemic island species of birds. The digestive and respiratory systems of birds are also uniquely adapted for flight. Some bird species of aquatic environments, particularly the aforementioned flightless penguins, and also members of the duck family, have also evolved for swimming. Birds, specifically Darwin's finches, played an important part in the inception of Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. Some birds, especially corvids and parrots, are among the most intelligent animals. Several bird species make and use tools, and many social species pass on knowledge across generations, which is considered a form of culture. Many species annually migrate great distances. Birds are social, communicating with visual signals, calls, and bird songs, and participating in such social behaviors as cooperative breeding and hunting, flocking, and mobbing of predators. The vast majority of bird species are socially monogamous, usually for one breeding season at a time, sometimes for years, but rarely for life. Other species have polygynous or, rarely, polyandrous breeding systems. Birds produce offspring by laying eggs which are fertilized through sexual reproduction. They are usually laid in a nest and incubated by the parents. Most birds have an extended period of parental care after hatching. Some birds, such as hens, lay eggs even when not fertilized, though unfertilized eggs do not produce offspring. Many species of birds are economically important. Domesticated and undomesticated birds are important sources of eggs, meat, and feathers. Songbirds, parrots, and other species are popular as pets. Guano is harvested for use as a fertilizer. Birds prominently figure throughout human culture. About 120 to 130 species have become extinct due to human activity since the 17th century, and hundreds more before then. Human activity threatens about 1,200 bird species with extinction, though efforts are underway to protect them. Recreational bird watching is an important part of the ecotourism industry. Evolution and classification. The first classification of birds was developed by Francis Wilby and John Ray in their 1676 volume Ornithology. Carl Linnaeus modified that work in 1758 to devise the taxonomic classification system currently in use. Birds are categorized as the biological class Aves in Linnean taxonomy. Phylogenetic taxonomy places Aves in the dinosaur clade Theropoda. Definition: Aves and a sister group, the clade Crocodilia, contain the only living representatives of the reptile clade Archosauria. During the late 1990s, Aves was most commonly defined phylogenetically as all descendants of the most recent common ancestor of modern birds and Archaeopteryx lithographica. However, an earlier definition proposed by Jacques Gauthier gained wide currency in the 21st century, and is used by many scientists including adherents of the phyloCode system. Gauthier defined Aves to include only the crown group of the set of modern birds. This was done by excluding most groups known only from fossils, and assigning them, instead, to the Avialae, in part to avoid the uncertainties about the placement of Archaeopteryx in relation to animals traditionally thought of as theropod dinosaurs. Gauthier identified four conflicting ways of defining the term Aves, which is a problem because the same biological name is being used four different ways. Gauthier proposed a solution, number 4 below, which is to reserve the term Aves only for the crown group, the last common ancestor of all living birds and all of its descendants. He assigned other names to the other groups. Aves can mean those advanced archosaurs with feathers. Aves can mean those that fly. Aves can mean all reptiles closer to birds than to crocodiles. Aves can mean the last common ancestor of all the currently living birds and all of its descendants. Under the fourth definition, Archaeopteryx is an avialan, and not a member of Aves. Gauthier's proposals have been adopted by many researchers in the field of paleontology and bird evolution, though the exact definitions applied have been inconsistent. Avialae, initially proposed to replace the traditional fossil content of Aves, is often used synonymously with the vernacular term bird by these researchers. Most researchers define Avialae as branch-based clade, though definitions vary. Many authors have used a definition similar to all theropods closer to birds than to Deinonychus. Avialae is also occasionally defined as an apomorphy-based clade. Jacques Gauthier, who named Avialae in 1986, redefined it in 2001 as all dinosaurs that possessed feathered wings used in flapping flight, and the birds that descended from them. Dinosaurs and the origin of birds based on fossil and biological evidence. Most scientists accept that birds are a specialized subgroup of theropod dinosaurs, and more specifically, they are members of Maniraptora, a group of theropods which includes dromaeosaurs and oviraptorids, among others. As scientists have discovered more theropods closely related to birds, the previously clear distinction between non-birds and birds has become blurred. Recent discoveries in the Liaoning province of northeast China, which demonstrate many small theropod feathered dinosaurs, contribute to this ambiguity. The consensus view in contemporary paleontology is that the flying theropods, or avialans, are the closest relatives of the Deinonychosaurs, which include dromaeosaurids and troodontids. Together, these form a group, called Paraves. Some basal members of this group, such as Microraptor, have features which may have enabled them to glide or fly. The most basal Deinonychosaurs were very small. This evidence raises the possibility that the ancestor of all paravians may have been arboreal, have been able to glide, or both. Unlike Archaeopteryx and the non-avialan feathered dinosaurs, who primarily ate meat, recent studies suggest that the first avialans were omnivores. The late Jurassic Archaeopteryx is well known as one of the first transitional fossils to be found, and it provided support for the theory of evolution in the late 19th century. Archaeopteryx was the first fossil to display both clearly traditional reptilian characteristics, teeth, clawed fingers, and a long, lizard-like tail, as well as wings with flight feathers similar to those of modern birds. It is not considered a direct ancestor of birds, though it is possibly closely related to the true ancestor. Early evolution. The earliest known avialan fossils come from the Tiaojishan Formation of China, which has been dated to the late Jurassic period, about 160 million years ago. The avialan species from this time period include Anchiornis huxley, Xiaotinjiazhengi, and Aurornis xui. The well-known early avialan, Archaeopteryx, dates from slightly later Jurassic rocks from Germany. Many of these early avialans shared unusual anatomical features that may be ancestral to modern birds, but were later lost during bird evolution. These features include enlarged claws on the second toe, which may have been held clear of the ground in life, and long feathers or hind wings, covering the hind limbs and feet, which may have been used in aerial maneuvering. Avialans diversified into a wide variety of forms during the Cretaceous period. Many groups retained primitive characteristics, such as clawed wings and teeth, though the latter were lost independently in a number of avialan groups, including modern birds. While the earliest forms, such as Archaeopteryx and Geholornis, retained the long bony tails of their ancestors, the tails of more advanced avialans were shortened with the advent of the pygostyle bone in the group Pygostyla. In the late Cretaceous, around 95 million years ago, the ancestor of all modern birds also evolved a better sense of smell. Early diversity of bird ancestors. The first large, diverse lineage of short-tailed avialans to evolve were the Enantiornithus, or opposite birds, so named because the construction of their shoulder bones was in reverse to that of modern birds. Enantiornithus occupied a wide array of ecological niches, from sound-probing shorebirds and fish-eaters to tree-dwelling forms and seed-eaters. While they were the dominant group of avialans during the Cretaceous period, Enantiornithus became extinct along with many other dinosaur groups at the end of the Mesozoic era. Many species of the second major avialan lineage to diversify, the Euornithus, were semi-aquatic and specialized in eating fish and other small aquatic organisms. Unlike the Enantiornithus, which dominated land-based and arboreal habitats, most early Euornithus lacked perching adaptations and seem to have included shorebird-like species, waders, and swimming and diving species. The later included the superficially gull-like Ichthyornis, the Hesperornithiforms, which became so well adapted to hunting fish in marine environments that they lost the ability to fly and became primarily aquatic. The early Euornithus also saw the development of many traits associated with modern birds, like strongly keeled breastbones, toothless, beaked portions of their jaws. Euornithus also included the first avialans to develop true pygostyle and a fully mobile fan of tail feathers, which may have replaced the hind wing as the primary mode of aerial maneuverability and braking in flight. Diversification of modern birds. All modern birds lie within the crown group Aves, which has two subdivisions: the Palaeognathai, which includes the flightless ratites and the weak-flying Tinamys, and the extremely diverse Neognathai, containing all other birds. These two subdivisions are often given the rank of superorder, although Livesey and Zusi assigned them cohort rank. Depending on the taxonomic viewpoint, the number of known living bird species varies anywhere from 9,800 to 10,050, due largely to the discovery of Agavis, a late Cretaceous neognath member of the duck lineage. Aves is known to have split into several modern lineages by the end of the Mesozoic era. Studies using a morphological clock analysis have estimated that the actual origin of modern birds probably occurred slightly earlier than the earliest known fossils, during the mid-Cretaceous period. The earliest divergence within the Neognathus was that of the Galloanseri, the superorder containing the Anseriformes and the Galliformes. The earliest fossil remains of true birds come from the possible Galliform Ornis lentis, dated to about 85 million years ago, but the dates for the actual splits are much debated by scientists. The Aves are agreed to have evolved in the Cretaceous. and the split between the Galoenzeri from other Neognathus occurred before the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event. But there are different opinions about whether the radiation of the remaining Neognathus occurred before or after the extinction of the other dinosaurs. This disagreement is in part caused by a divergence in the evidence. Molecular dating suggests a Cretaceous radiation, while fossil evidence supports a Cenozoic radiation. Attempts to reconcile the molecular and fossil evidence have proved controversial, but recent results show that all the extant groups of birds originated from only a small handful of species that survived the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction. Classification of bird orders. Cladogram of modern bird relationships based on Jarvis, ed. al., with some clade names after Urey, al. The classification of birds is a contentious issue. Sibley and Ahlquist's Phylogeny and Classification of Birds is a landmark work on the classification of birds. Although it is frequently debated and constantly revised, most evidence seems to suggest the assignment of orders is accurate. But scientists disagree about the relationships between the orders themselves. Evidence from modern bird anatomy, fossils and DNA have all been brought to bear on the problem, but no strong consensus has emerged. More recently, new fossil and molecular evidence is providing an increasingly clear picture of the evolution of modern bird orders. The most recent effort is drawn above and is based on whole genome sequencing of 48 representative species. Distribution. Birds live and breed in most terrestrial habitats and on all 7 continents, reaching their southern extreme in the snow petrels breeding colonies up to 440 kilometers inland in Antarctica. The highest bird diversity occurs in tropical regions. It was earlier thought that this high diversity was the result of higher speciation rates in the tropics. However, recent studies found higher speciation rates in the high latitudes that were offset by greater extinction rates than in the tropics. Several families of birds have adapted to life both on the world's oceans and in them, with some seabird species coming ashore only to breed, and some penguins have been recorded diving up to 300 meters. Many bird species have established breeding populations in areas to which they have been introduced by humans. Some of these introductions have been deliberate. The ring-necked pheasant, for example, has been introduced around the world as a game bird. Others have been accidental, such as the establishment of wild monk parakeets in several North American cities after their escape from captivity. Some species, including cattle egret, yellow-headed caracara and galah, have spread naturally far beyond their original ranges as agricultural practices created suitable new habitat.